Greetings, everyone. How are you doing today, this fine Friday? If you're listening to us live, we hope you are. We are here doing the Feng Shui Toolkit, and this is Ask Me Anything Day. So it's our Q&A day. Hello, if you're new to me, my name is Kathleen Horvath-Zemansky. I'm a business Feng Shui master, astrologer, and the creator of the TimeBlazr business management system, which is a personalized favorable timing system. And to my right is...
Hi, my name is Alice, and I am here at Five Elements Group, and I manage just about everything from the back end to being here with on this Q&A with Kathleen with you guys today.
Yeah, we just thought we would shake it up on Fridays to answer your questions. And it's also kind of exciting for me to actually be speaking to a live person, even though we're talking to a lot of virtual people as well. But let me just explain just very quickly why we started the channel and or this playlist, if you will, and then what the layout is. So first of all, we're in the year of the metal ox, and it's been a crazy year, and the year previous was just as crazy. And we're now kind of shifting this time of the year in November. Actually, we've already shifted for a good month or so into the water tiger. And the water tiger actually officially starts in February. It's February 4th at 4:51 a.m. if you actually want to know right down to the minute. But we're doing this so that you can best prepare by finishing this year up the best you can. So we're all about the yin and yang of business, and what that means is we address person, space, time, and universe. And so we've taken each one of those and we do a little bit about that each and every day. So on Mondays, we talk about your business astrology, and that's also a distinction. We do talk more about business here. We are talking about business feng shui on Tuesdays, and we use classical feng shui, which means that we are using the orientation of your building and then personalizing you into that space. Then on Wednesdays, we look at a week in advance with the TimeBlazr favorable timing system. And then on Thursdays, we do a meditation using the Universal Gateway, and that's bringing in your universal intelligence. And then here we are for our Q&A. So why don't we start with our questions and see what we have for today.
Okay, so our first question is, hi Kathleen. My question for the Q&A is, I live opposite to a cemetery. My balcony overlooks the cemetery. Does it affect your home or my home? My father is buried there, and my balcony overlooks and faces south. Thanks, Kathleen and Alice. Warm regards, Antoinette Vanderkut.
So, hello, Antoinette. Thank you for your question this week. It's actually quite a complex question. So, the first thing that, and I mentioned sort of in my intro to you all today, specifically, that we do classical feng shui. And what that, like I said, what that means is each space, and all that I do for that matter, is personalized. So we can't really use like these cookie cutter situations that, oh, this is your wealth corner and that's your relationship corner. If that were true, we would all have, a lot of wealth and perfect relationships and all of that. So, we know just living these last 2 years, life is messy. And what we're trying to do is have that advantage and raise our vibrancy so that we're attracting, better relationships, have better health, have better teams, have better clients, and things like that. So there is that distinction already that we practice classical feng shui. Within that school, there are actually a number of different philosophies, methodologies, if you will, but one distinction is Yin Feng Shui and Yang Feng Shui. So let me talk about Yang Feng Shui first. Yang Feng Shui is probably what most of you all understand and know, and that is, it's about the living. It's about the spaces that we work and live. Yin Feng Shui is actually quite opposite of that. This is properly burying your ancestors. So you mentioned that your father is living in a cemetery across the balcony from you, that you overlook this cemetery. So first of all, truthfully, we do not consider that a favorable, and I'm going back to, just basic tenets of feng shui, and we do not like to actually be visibly seeing a cemetery with a number of other objects that are um, that may cause friction in your life, if you will. So that's not actually a favorable thing that we would like to be looking at. But what can you do? You live in that apartment. I don't know if you own the flat or if you are renting or leasing. So there is an argument of, how is your life going? And if it's going well, then you can say then that cemetery isn't affecting you. But you said that it's south facing. So if you have a horse in your chart, by the way, or a rat in your chart, a couple of other animals as well, that is going to affect those specific animals because that is what you're actually seeing. So we don't really want so it is negatively impacting the feng shui of your space. Now, you also have a loved one that is in this space, and again, my condolences to you for your loss. And it would be better if you visited him from a different place, so not being visible of the cemetery would be a good idea. If I could add an additional piece to this particular conversation about Yin Feng Shui, there are masters, and I am not one of them, there are masters that will do only Yin Feng Shui. And what that means is, now I want you to just wrap your head around this concept for just a second. Imagine my hand is the what we call the tombstone. I'm not sure if it's called something else in other countries, but in the U.S. we call it a tombstone, where we have the person's name, their lifespan, and maybe a nice phrase about them or something like that. It marks, and there are various different cemeteries that have the tombstone that is up, and then there are others that are laying flat on the ground, depending on specific religious beliefs and things like that. But for a tombstone, and so much as far as one that's flat as well, this is considered the antenna. You can benefit your ancestors, as for example, when my parents passed away, and this was before that I did feng shui and all of that kind of stuff, but their tomb was set. But I have since gone back and taken a measurement of that particular tomb, and it's actually not in a favorable direction. So it would be better when you pass away to pass on your legacies in the most beneficial way, is to orient, because this is the antenna for the person that is below. The tombstone will help your ancestors, and if you have children, that would be something to consider when the time comes, to make sure that your burial feng shui, your yin feng shui, is just as good, if not more favorable, because it's your last resting place, right, than the places that you live. But for now, let's boost up the feng shui of your space. Really, it's like, it's your balcony, and if you live in an apartment situation, that might be your only way to get outside and look at, get some fresh air and things like that. So you are in that situation. So it comes down to, what can you do? A band-aid situation would be not use that balcony, close off the curtains so you don't have the view. I don't think that's a real viable situation, truthfully. There really is no cure for that. And really the next step would be is to improve your life, you may need to move into a different space to boost your feng shui. So that might not be the answer that you're looking for, but this is actually a pretty complicated question. So I do hope that helps. but it could definitely mean that some of the challenges that one may have in their lives is because how your ancestors were buried. Now, this is very popular in Asian countries. Very, 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 very popular. I've actually been contacted to do Yin Feng Shui here in the US, but again, it is a specialty that I always say I work for the living, not the dead. But basically, it is a very specialized because you want to hit the right hour when you lower the body into the ground. Now, this is not obviously relevant if you're cremated, unless you are entombed. Then yes, it would be. But otherwise, it would not be beneficial to do a cremation. Now, with that said, if you have no children, don't worry about it. Find wherever you would like to be buried or cremated or whatever. If you have no one to pass it on to, and it has to be a bloodline, then there really is no reason to look at Yin Feng Shui. But I can tell you it is a huge, huge, huge thing in Asian countries. So hopefully that answered that question. And again, many blessings to your father.
And that's very good question that maybe we want to revisit next year for Halloween, Day of the Dead, because that's something that not everybody knows about.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an interesting topic.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It's very
mhm,
interesting, and I've
mhm,
done many, 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 many excursions to
mhm,
China, Hong Kong, Singapore. That we actually went and studied um, Yin Feng Shui by going to famous cemeteries or looking at famous people
mhm,
and how they were buried, and the Asians are not unique to this. When you think about all of the pyramids, what are the
mhm.
pyramids? Those are tombs.
Tombs, yeah.
So the when I used to live in Europe, and this was again before I even began doing feng shui, I was very amazed by how well kept, and they had the most beautiful spots of all in this. And I lived
Mhm,
in
mhm.
in Italy and Switzerland. I was kind of in both of those countries at the same time because of two different homes.
Right.
Both of those countries, they had the most beautiful pieces of property were dedicated to their ancestors because it
Mhm,
was their eternal home, if you will. Even
mhm, mhm,
though of course they ascend, their body is only there until it decomposes and things like that. But the idea of how we in the United States, it's a whole that whole conversation even
mhm.
about how
Right.
we treat death as a very scary thing, and
Mhm,
everybody kind of avoids the conversation and all of that kind of stuff. It's quite different in Europe.
mm,
I can tell you that this kind of a little off topic here, but I remember going to a cemetery with my father,
mm,
and he said, quote unquote, he said, "This place is so alive. It's a cemetery." And the
right.
reason it's so alive is because, we have our holidays where we have what we call Memorial Day, and you go once a year to visit your ancestors. For the most part, most people, if even that, it's
Mhm.
become a picnic holiday for us.
Right.
It doesn't even stand as a Memorial Day anymore, and it's for veterans and things like that. But for the most part, most people, don't visit their ancestors as much as I've seen other cultures
Mhm,
do.
mhm.
So it is just a very different conversation there. So there you go.
Right,
All right,
absolutely.
let's move on. Let's move on because
For sure.
yeah.
All
So okay.
right, the next question is, early in October, you looked at Mark Zuckerberg's chart in relation to Facebook going offline. Kathleen made a comment that having a full wealth/water sector is not actually advantageous. I'd be interested to learn more about this, please. Thanks, Eleanor.
Okay. Thanks, Eleanor, for your question. Appreciate that. So yeah, we did have. It just happened that week we were in the the midst of everybody scrambling to try to get online, figuring out what was going wrong, and to the chagrin of Facebook, they were down for a day, and it was also at the same time where the whistleblower came out about their security practices and things like that. But Mark Zuckerberg does have a full when it comes to wealth. So there's 5 structures that we have in our astrology charts, and they are based on your natal chart. They are based on the 5 elements of your natal chart, and it depends on when you were born and your gender that will determine how those all play out. So the 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And each one of those, depending on how much you have in your natal chart, will sprinkle out and say, okay, this much is going to be for wealth, and it would be one element. This is going to be for your wealth, and it's going to be different. It could be one of the 5. One is going to be for your power. One is going to be for your resources. One is going to be about your networks, and the other one is going to be about your creation. When you have 100%, because let's just take the example of water. If water was your wealth element, and again, it could be any one of those 5, if water is your wealth element and you already see that box is completely full, then you really don't need to start asking for more water in your chart, because it's almost too much. It's like, think of a cup. Think of, here's my tea mug. And if I just kept pouring water into this cup and it would just flow over at a certain point, the cup can no longer contain more than 100% of its capacity. So when and you might think, well, that's just more wealth for me. Yeah, it might be more wealth for you, but there is also costs to having too much of any one of the elements. If you have too much of wealth, but you don't have enough sprinkled out through the rest of your natal chart, then what you start having is complications in other parts of your life. Now, there could be a argument, if you will, and I have had this argument said to me, I don't care about the rest of the things in my life. Just give me more money. But I can tell you, the people that do say that to me, they are pretty imbalanced in other parts of their life, their friends, their friendships, their partnerships, their health, people that want to help them. Those parts are now diminished because we're trying to just keep boosting the wealth. There is also a saying in Chinese metaphysics, too much wealth harms the health. And so, again, when we have a little bit more balance in the chart, is a little bit more favorable. But I do understand that, well, look, I don't, especially for someone, let's put it even this way, someone who has all that wealth in their chart, but they're not able to access it. So what a better question would be, how do I use the wealth in my chart? This is a great question, Eleanor, but how would I use the wealth that I have in my chart and use the other components? Because remember, this is a holistic system. If we weight it only to one thing, inevitably when something does go awry in your chart, if you don't have the support of other people, you've lost your power, you don't have any networks to turn for, you have nothing to output, there's going to be times in the course of your life, depending on how long you live. Let me just throw this out as an example. 2022, the natal chart of the year has no metal in it. 0 metal. So what if that's your wealth element? That's going to say next year you're going to have some problems when it comes to cash flow. A lot of people are going to have problems because of the cash flow, because there is no metal. Metal is money. Metal is currency. So when we're talking kind of globally, is banking is what I'm trying to say. It's finance, is metal. So we have no metal in the chart next year. So people who have metal as their wealth element, that's going to be a little problematic for next year. So we're going to have to look at doing different things. And that's where we need to get creative of, do I need to start looking at being in a better vibrancy of my space? Do I need to choose better TimeBlazr days to launch my projects and work with clients and things like that? Or can I also tap into my universal intelligence with the universal gateway to start manifesting some things that will help when it comes to, bringing, certain things about, certain things that I want to have come about in my life. So what I would also say is that, every single year, like for example, we are currently in the year of the metal ox at the time of this broadcast live stream. So there's a little bit of water that's hidden in the ox. Next year, we have a yang water tiger. Yang water is like an ocean. So anyone that has water as their wealth element, we're going to get a real gush of wealth in there. So what I would suggest for people to do is, if we've got more wealth coming in because that's your element that you would be looking at, then we're going to say, all right, but how can you balance other parts of your life? So just remember, when your cup runneth over, where does that go? It's almost wasteful. It would be like, okay, let's use the wealth that I have in my chart. Unless it's little tiny, then the annual stuff was like, yay, then I can really like do what I can to be making more money. So that is how I would be looking at it, is how to bring more balance to other parts of my chart so I can balance it out a little bit more. And with that said, let's just use the water as the wealth element as an example. So water is also about movement, if you will. We never, ever, ever, ever like to see just completely still water that will be, just there for days on end. It will start to become stagnant. It will start to become murky and all of that. So water likes to move. Otherwise, it's going to bring other health issues and financial issues and things like that. So if water is your wealth element, then you want to keep moving your body, like go to clients versus, which we can't do too much because of what's going on in the world with, lockdowns and stuff. But your message could be related in many different ways. So it is about movement. It's also about deep research, going within, being reflective. So those are ways in which you can boost the water element, and then all the other elements have their own attributes as well. So anyway, that is how I would answer that question. When you already have 100%, more than 100% is not going to benefit you as much as I think you think it would. So try to balance your chart in other ways and get moving if you have water as your wealth element. So okay,
Mhm.
anything else, Alice, that you want to add to that?
Um, it just makes me, speaking of about the wealth element, it just brings up the song from the late rapper Biggie Smalls when he says, "Mo money, mo problems,"
More
is how
money,
I
more
look at
problems. There you
it.
go. There you go. There you go. Um, and truthfully, and this has nothing to do with, and I need to have this as a clarification as well, is I in no way, shape, or form think that money is evil. I don't think that people that are very wealthy, that, oh, they're so greedy and they should be giving me their money, and I don't have that mindset. And if you do have that mindset, I would that's the inner work you need to do, because your lack and your projections on others, and I'm not saying that the person that asked that question did, but I do want to emphasize, the more that you can be happy for somebody else's abundance, the more that you are being gracious about it, and you have more likelihood of attracting to yourself. So that actually is, I think, really one of the things that people do need to work at is their mindset about money.
Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting things, and Alice and I have been talking about. People are asking us to do this, but we're going to be doing a baseline astrology class. I'm just giving you the little seed of this right now. In
Mm-hmm.
2022, we're going to be doing a just a basic uh, astrology class for those who want to go deeper into those kinds of things, because I
Mm-hmm.
realize that's kind of a bit heady for maybe everyone, but for those who want to go a little bit deeper, have a better understanding of themselves, have a better understanding of their hidden talents that they may not even know about. That's what that class is going to be about. So, but we'll be talking about that after Chinese New Year, because we've got a lot to do between now and then. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna head on over just for a very quick announcement about our annual event that Alice and I put on every year, and it's the 2022 Water Tiger, like I said, and we it's a 2-day event. It's January 8th and 9th, and we still have early bird tickets on sale right now, so you may want to grab those. So it's kind of a pre Black Friday kind of event as well. So if you want to go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and grab your tickets at www.2022watertiger. And just like the series that we're doing, kind of day by day, we're going to be doing the overall what the year of the water tiger is about. And I'm very excited about the water tiger. It doesn't come without challenges, but we are going to see some movement. And I'm calling it my leap into action year. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you're going to be along there with me, and go ahead and grab your tickets at that URL listed on the page. So, okay, I think we are finished for our Q&A today. And if you have any questions, go ahead and submit them below. And what else do they need to do, Alice, if they want to stay in contact with us?
They need to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified of all the content that comes out from Five Elements.
Perfect. So, okay, I am going to have to tell you that for the next couple of weeks, we're probably not going to be on live because we've got some deadlines that we really need to take care of, and
Mm-hmm.
so we will maybe come in sporadically. But I do believe that the next couple of weeks, and we've got a major holiday here in the U.S. as well. So we'll be on when we can, but it's not going to be the daily thing. This is really cooking, brewing to be our
Mm-hmm.
busiest time of the year. So we'll do what we can, but I can't promise you that we'll be on every day like we
Mm-hmm.
have been since the
Yeah,
beginning.
tap that bell. More
Yeah.
reason to tap the bell to be
There you
notified.
go. There you go. So, but keep your comments and all of that coming, and let us know what you want us to talk about, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how we can weave that all in for you. Okay. So until then, have an amazing rest of the day and weekend, and may good chi follow wherever you may
Mm-hmm.
go. See you later.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.